Thank you very much. My name's Glenn. I'm going to talk to you a bit today about GIFs because that's incredibly important. I'm going to start by introducing myself a little bit, though, because the other half of my talk is about web components, and I'm not like a web component developer, right? Nobody's paying me to write web components. I don't do them for client work. I'm a freelancer. I've kind of just come to them out of passion. And so, this is basically a story of how I came to know anything about web components. And I have GIFs to thank for it. But I think the most important thing that you need to know about me is that I particularly like GIFs. So GIFs I find as being an incredibly good way of conveying an emotion. So this GIF in particular would convey the emotion of almost disturbing levels of enthusiasm. The kind of enthusiasm that doesn't really exist in real life, only exists in sort of 80s movies from America. But thanks to Ben yesterday, I also have another GIF that I can use, which is the Top Gun high five. And I'll show that one more. And now that's shorter. It conveys the same thing, so that's an improvement. But basically, I'm a big fan of GIFs. That's an incredibly flexible file format, despite being incredibly inflexible in implementation. You'll notice that I'm from Australia, so I'm pronouncing the hard G. I pronounce it GIF. But most of you would be from Europe, so you would also pronounce it GIF. Interestingly, I was in America recently, and they also pronounce it GIF because that's the only way anyone pronounces it. Okay. So here's another GIF. This is an artist called Hate Plow. He has a Tumblr. He makes interesting mashups of photography and computer graphics. Basically, these couple of GIFs are trying to convey that GIFs aren't just about funny animal pictures, but they still can be. And I think there's something incredibly interesting about a format that can support both legitimate artistic work and deal with it GIFs. Anyway, my story about web components and GIFs starts for me with an idea. And the idea started when I was looking for more GIFs. Came across a website called Vast Image, and that's a project by Ryan Tomeko. It was basically a full-screen GIF, like I've been showing you. Press Command-I, get a new full-screen GIF. It had a fairly significant problem, which is that the GIFs it would show you would be from an unmoderated set of GIFs that anyone could contribute to. And this is the internet, and we know where that leads. So me and some friends, including Ben, who introduced me, we built a thing called GIF City, and that would basically scrape a Tumblr because we knew that Tumblr was full of interesting people doing interesting GIFs. So if the internet holds up, you can have a look yourself, and I'll demonstrate a few here. So this is an artist called Matthew DeVito. And basically, this is a static program that just scrapes that person's Tumblr, looks for all the GIFs, and will show one after another every 10 seconds or so. And what's cool about that is that Tumblr, basically for anything, there is a Tumblr full of GIFs of that thing on the internet. And this is one I particularly like because I've never been able to skate, but this is somebody's collection of thousands of cool skating tricks in GIF form. And so you can put this on and you can watch it for a while, and it's pretty cool. And I encourage you to check it out. That's where it lives. And that was the kind of project where we got started. When we kind of got that ready, we were really excited about it, right? This is me for like a year, right? Because I kept finding new GIFs, new Tumblrs full of GIFs. And while the other guys who were involved were kind of satisfied with that, I started to get a little bit more obsessed about the GIFs, right? I started to get a bit intense and wanting to do, okay, so we'd written a little bit of JavaScript, we had having a lot of fun. What's the next thing? And it took a while, but then I eventually came across something that really astonished me. And it was the idea of synchronizing GIFs to music, because occasionally a GIF would be just the right length and the music would just, be the same kind of mood, and they would sync up, and it was awesome. It was so cool that I decided to fork off my own project called DJ GIF, which will launch at one point, but that's a separate talk. And basically, the idea was to automatically synchronize GIFs to music. And to do that, I had to do a couple of interesting things. Getting the beats out of music, I'm not going to talk about today, but I am going to talk about speeding up and slowing down GIFs, which you would need to do to synchronize GIFs and music. Because this is all I knew about GIFs, right? You can either use the JS or the HTML API, and you can put the cats in the page, and that's all you've got. And I was thinking maybe there's some way of doing different playback or something, but there isn't. So I looked at it for a long time, a surprisingly long time, until it occurred to me that an animation is a series of frames, and potentially, if I get the frames out of the GIF, then I know enough CSS to play them back. So that's kind of that's where the project took me. I started to look into what GIFs are. Let me just zoom this in a little bit. And so I read this specification. This is actually not the original specification, but it's a very good summary. I mean, it gets complicated, right? I don't want to do all this, so I didn't. The key thing in a GIF is that this diagram at the top, the kind of architecture of a GIF, which I've reproduced with my HTML5 presentation framework. This is what I call a diagram, basically. A header followed by a series of frames, followed by a footer. If you take the header and the footer and wrap it around each frame, you get a series of, well, they're animated GIFs, but they only have one frame, so they don't move. But they're all valid GIFs. And it turns out you can do that pretty efficiently in JavaScript. I was surprised when I finished just how kind of small the code was. Like, this is the entirety of it. And if you were trying to decode the GIF itself, it would be a huge amount of code. I mean, I looked at porting things, but it would be a massive amount of code, but I didn't need to, because all I needed to do was rearrange the pieces of the GIF, and then I could have the frames. So that's all up there as well on the line. And once you have the frames, you put them in the DOM like that. You put them next to each other in a parent frame. You then can use CSS to sort of stack them on top of each other. And then depending on the data attribute of the frame, you hide and show one of them. And then to play back the GIF, all you need to do is just show the next frame at a particular time. And I use request animation frame here, so basically it doesn't matter what I'm trying to do with the GIF. I could be trying to play it back as fast as possible. I could be trying to play it back at its native speed. I could be playing it backwards. The only thing I need to change in this screen is the result of calculate frame at any moment in time. So that was kind of cool, because it was like the realization that all of this work and all this complexity was now hidden, and all the strategies I wanted to use to play back a GIF synchronized to something could come under one entry point. And so that's why I thought I should release a component. So I want to take a very brief aside and talk about Dreamcode, because it's something I learned about the way the Hoodie project started. Their kind of philosophy, or the philosophy of Dreamcode, is to start with the best possible representation of your idea, even if you don't know how to implement it. Just come up with the best, well, for my case, the best possible GIF tag that I could come up with was the replication of the image tag. And I didn't know how to build it at that point. I actually didn't even know if it was possible. But creepy history guy, he said it was, so that's all right. So I got on a plane, and I loaded up the Polymer documentation, and I tried to extract it into a Polymer component, which was a huge success, actually. I'll show you what it looks like now, actually. So this is a GIF, a particularly good one, of the Nope octopus, noping itself. But this isn't a GIF, this is an XGIF. So if I inspect this element, you can see each of these frames are actually blobs that I've extracted myself. There's oh, that's really small, isn't it? There's a wrapper, or a frame, that is counting through the frames, playing it back, and that all sits inside Shadowroot, inside a custom element called XGIF. And then it was a matter of, like, what do I want to do with this flexible component now? I can't sadly make that GIF change to yes, 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 yes as it comes back. So it's just reversing back and forward. But I use it a fair bit, actually, in presentations to be able to play a GIF once and stop, because I find playing a GIF too many times can be distracting. Unless it, well, actually just GIFs in general are pretty distracting, but otherwise it wouldn't fill up 25 minutes. All right, the speed is another thing that you can change, right? So now he really gets quite quick, and then you can slow him down as well. But the stuff that I was more interested in is things like the beats per minute. So here we have 2 GIFs on the page, and they're synchronized to the same BPM. So if you have, say, a whole page full of GIFs, this will synchronize them all to the same beat, so that it's not as kind of chaotic. But I did one more little thing, which is that as you speed things up, the bottom one is, like with this snap attribute, is blindly following this beat, no matter how fast it goes. And the top one is looking at the speed of the GIF and the speed of the beat and trying to find the best match. So it's actually spanning several beats, because it's kind of a longer GIF. And that I'm really happy with, because if you put this into your page and you say, hey, I want every GIF on this page to be at BPM 60 or BPM 120, they'll all find their natural rhythm, and it'll be, kind of good. But the thing I was trying to do in the first place, which I will demonstrate, although I'll use a different GIF because I like it, is synchronizing to audio, so hopefully this will work. So the top one there is spanning every second beat, and the bottom one is hitting every beat. And as I change things, this was breaking before, so I'm just going to do it in the console. If I change the speed of the audio, the beats still synchronize, and the GIF will, no matter what audio you throw at it, what GIF you throw at it, it will always stick to the beat. So that's what XGIF was for, that's why I built it. And now I guess the story is, here's the kind of full spec. This is, I spent a fair bit of time trying to think about what would be the best way to express this thing. But I launched this back in March, and it was pretty successful. And so the rest of the presentation is a bit more about what happened after. Because it got a lot of attention right at the beginning, and I was thinking, this open source stuff is pretty cool. I'm pretty cool, by extension. But I wasn't super happy with, it got a lot of attention, but not a lot of people put it into their own page. And I looked at what I released, which was, in a rush, first time I'd ever done any Polymer stuff, and I had 7 files in this directory because I didn't really understand what I was doing. And it was 91K of data just to get it. I mean, I know that GIFs are like 5.5 meg. This presentation is 46 meg, but 91K just seemed like a bit too far, right? The multi-file problem can be solved with a tool called Vulcanize, which is out of the Polymer team. That's named after a gladiator from the old Australian 90s show, Gladiators, who was also called Vulcan. So it's an obscure reference, but I'm glad that they did it. Anyway, Vulcanize will, if you want, inline this sort of tree of dependencies for a Polymer or a web component and build it up into a single payload. So I got it down to 2 requests, platform and the vulcanized XGIF, and didn't save much space. It's still 84K. But at least it got rid of that first one. But that wasn't enough kind of for me to feel really satisfied with what I'd released, because, Polymer just didn't feel like a good fit for what I'd done. It's really a framework. It has opinions about how to build applications, but I'm not building applications. I'm building, something so much more important. And so all of its kind of work and its very smart ideas weren't really applicable, I thought. And the other thing was, people wanted it, I wanted it, to work with whatever framework they're already using. Why would, if you're using an Angular project, but you're a GIF lover like Why would you put Polymer in your page as well? They all can do custom web elements, and they actually provide common functionality that I needed to use libraries in Polymer for. So why wouldn't I use them? Why wouldn't I take the core of XGIF, which everybody agreed was fantastic, and adapt it to all of the frameworks that are out there, keep the component API, which I was really proud of, and just do the plumbing. And it looks like it should work, and in fact, I thought that my talk would be, this is how you do it. This is how you adapt it. You have some components, you want to release it, this is how you adapt it to all of them. But it doesn't work, or it didn't work for me. And there are a few problems, but basically these frameworks, which are written very, very cleverly, are concentrating on solving application development, not interoperability. Nor should they be, right? It's just not part of their concern. For example, when I came to doing playback, inside the actual element itself, I have to change a data attribute, 60 times a second, potentially. And so I just grab the element itself, I keep a cached reference to that element, I change the data attribute. React doesn't really want me to do that. So when I was building the React version, I'm like, okay, well, I have to kind of abstract this out, because React will give me a state that I can update. And if I'm using Polymer and I've got the shadow DOM, I can just update it directly. And I mean, it's okay. If someone was paying me to build this, that's probably what I would do. But it just kind of felt like premature generalization. And I've been a Java developer, and this is a side project. I wanted to follow it where the interest led me. And this felt too much like work. And so I kind of stopped on the project for a bit. I was really kind of, I'd released the Polymer version and it was fine, but I wasn't very motivated to release other versions. And it took a long time before I realized what it was that was different about Polymer at that time with everything else. And it's the shadow DOM. The shadow DOM is the one thing, the crucial thing that the other ones didn't have. Even though I could convert it to Angular very easily, and I actually did, missing the shadow DOM just gives you a place to work. And if you're building a component, having a space free from anything else is really it allows you to take shortcuts. And for me, I wanted to take all the shortcuts. So anyway, I stopped work on the project for a little while. And I wasn't really sure, I could only see one solution, which was release this for every framework. But thankfully, after a while, I found another solution. So, a couple of months ago, Chrome 36 came out. And I'm not a big Chrome fanboy in any means, but it was kind of important for one particular reason. A lot of people talked about it at the time. People, I don't know, have maybe not talked about it as much since, but it had full, not behind a flag, no polyfills necessary, support for web components for the 4 major specs. And that's kind of cool, because it meant that the promise of web components is at least possible in one browser, and a major browser at that. I looked into it a bit more, and I was kind of ashamed to admit, I didn't realize that Polymer and web components aren't the same. And Polymer is built on top of web components, not possible without it, but the web component spec is something different. So I started looking into what it would look like if XGIF was a web component, and what it would feel like, maybe more importantly. And a lot of the changes are kind of superficial. I'm using the ES6 class inheritance thing, which you should use, because it's rad, and it's the future of JavaScript. So some of the changes are a bit more annoying. Like Polymer gives you nice little callbacks for hey, somebody changed the source of this GIF, so I go and fetch the new GIF. Whereas I've got to do my own dispatch if I'm doing a native web component. Other things are a little bit more difficult to get your head around. If you're writing a Polymer component, you get this nice little Polymer element tag with attributes and stuff. There's lots of documentation about how to do that. There's not as much around doing it kind of vanilla. But they're very similar. When you do your own, you have to set up your own shadow DOM. You have to find the template element. You have to throw all that stuff in. Again, sounds like work, but this is actually, I just copy-pasted this. I mean, I didn't have to change this much from the other examples I was seeing. But after all that, the thing that you could do is just import Xgif, it's one file, inline the JavaScript, inline the CSS, it's 14K, and then every Xgif tag is a real tag on your page. It works just like the others, except it's better. And Polymer, as I looked into it, Polymer includes this thing called Platform.js, which is basically a shim for the web components features that are missing on whatever browser. It goes down to IE9. And so I wrote a little thing to basically detect if you've got full web component support and inject Platform itself. And so I realized, actually, this kind of feels different to releasing a Polymer component. This kind of feels, at a different level. And you might be thinking that it's the same code, we're doing the same job, and it's the same API, so what is the difference? But the key thing for me is that now I'm extending someone else's browser. I've written code and I'm shipped it kind of under their radar, and I don't care if they're using React and they don't want me to touch that part of the DOM because I've got my own shadow DOM. I don't care if they're using Ember and, I don't care what they're using. I'm changing their browser, and that's kind of fun. Because everything has to talk HTML, so if you want to talk to Xgif, you just talk HTML. So anyway, that's kind of my web component story. I thought I'd end with a couple of closing little remarks, this is like one, I should really reorder these points. This is one component that is much more an image tag than it is anything else. You probably will be writing components that are much more integrated into your application, and in that case, you probably want a framework. But if you can get a really nice HTML API, and you're targeting as browsers start to support this stuff natively, then you're actually doing something different to what you've been doing before. And you're actually now being able to customize the runtime that you've usually just been building on top of. And I think that's pretty exciting, because this has all changed in the last few months. And if Carl Sagan says that it's awesome, then it must be. That's all I've got. Thanks.